The 6.5 is back, and it is a couple weeks until HPE Discover 2025, and the 6.5 will be there nonstop with all of our analysts. Daniel, how are you, my friend?
Doing great. The road to Discover begins, and our team of the 6.5 could not be more excited, Pat. But we are just a few weeks out, and it is time to start looking at what people that are going to attend, the partners, the customers, the analysts, and everyone else, what we should all be expecting.
Yeah, so let's dive in here. I've been a big fan of the hybrid cloud going on 10 years. They called me the cloud denier. But we kind of knew that this is the way that enterprises wanted to do that. And now we have AI. But does hybrid cloud and AI, do they cross? Let's have that discussion here. So I can't imagine a person better to have this discussion than Menaka from HPE. Menaka, great to meet you and welcome to 6.5 for the first time.
Thank you very much for having me here. As you said, the road to Discover began long time ago. So we're super excited for this event and to bring all the innovation to our customers.
Yeah, so we've been following HPE's journey for a long time. And, going back even just, it feels like it's only been a few, but it's been several years now since Antonio Neri got on stage, said we're going to move everything to service, locked in on GreenLake, really focused on kind of that consumption experience for on-prem and hybrid environments. But in 2025, with the advent of AI and this acceleration, hybrid cloud is still a central theme in your innovation narrative. Talk a little bit about the kind of what from architectural challenges, the opportunities that you're seeing that is sort of driving enterprises to go with, continue with hybrid cloud and adopt even unified private cloud solutions.
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit of background about myself, just to give the audience, where I come from. For the past 15 to 16 years, I have worked in leadership roles in a public cloud provider myself. Just few months ago, I joined HPE. The reason why I joined HPE is exactly for that reason, right? Because 10 years ago, we were advising customers to go cloud, all in on cloud, and drive innovation from platform and above, right? Quickly we realized that all in on cloud is just not possible. The reason for that is because if you see the temporal nature of the workloads, some are containerized, some needs high performance computing, some requires extreme in memory capabilities. It is extremely diverse. And not only that, if you look at the other characteristics like database running on a container versus databases running on Exadata, the proprietary nature of the workload was very diverse. So fast forward today, customers have realized that the future of enterprise is hybrid. Now, while we are in a phase that customers have realized it, HPE has thought about this 10 years ago. That is why we have an industry leading product today. Because if you think of yesterday, you wouldn't be having a product, right? The innovation should have happened long ago. That's why we have a product, and the product is in the market leading situation, right? Now, the beauty of this, where we are today, is if you look at the complexity of AI, data residency is a huge investment. Customers, even if they have, in the process of going hybrid or looking at hybrid, they have to continue to stay hybrid because of the data residency challenges, because that fuels AI, because AI is really a data challenge. So what HPE provides is the best of the both worlds. One is providing the customers the flexibility and the option, also providing the customers the cloud modules. If a customer wants to be on cloud but they still want to have a manageability solution, HP provides that. Along with that, the co-innovation that we are driving with NVIDIA and several other of our key partners in the AI space. So those are the things that makes me very excited, bringing both the hybrid and the AI together.
Yeah, what my team and I have commented on your approach is optionality is good, but the easy button is good too, right? Because the reality is you're going to have some customers who want the easy button. Hey, I'm going to go full stack. but then they might want different modules of that stack as opposed to going to the full stack. Maybe they have a lot of technical debt, or they need to stick with their virtualization provider that they've had for a while, or maybe they want to delay any changes along those lines. So, enterprise IT, the CIO agenda is all about modernization. It's all about AI as well. And there have been some debates on whether the two shall meet. How do you see the role of an enterprise architecture helping to take AI to scale? Because AI so far is enterprises have had a lot of nice experiments. They've done some POCs, and they are starting to see some value here in 2025.
Yeah.
Some have scaled, and some haven't. But what kind of architecture do you need, or what is the role of that architecture with generative AI and even agents?
Yeah, I mean, it started with generative AI, but then the complexity is going more and more with agentic AI, and then robotics is going to add even more complexity, right? So I'll talk a little bit about the complexity of the AI from an architectural standpoint, and I'll tell you how hybrid IT is going to marry with the AI infrastructure, right? So if you look at the complete stack of the AI that we are building, right? We talk from high performance networking capability. We need to have, in order to run the tokenization at the throughputs that we are talking about, because token is the new currency, we need to make sure that we have those high performing networking capability. And that's exactly what we provide. And then if you come above the stack of networking, we are talking about high performance computing. So for the past 10 to 15 years, we have been leaders in the space of high performance computing. So that experience is really paying off when it comes to the high performance computing of GPUs and GPU accelerations, right? Then the firmware that we need to integrate with the GPUs, because every use case requires the necessary firmware acceleration that we can drive down up to the firmware layer. Now, if you go a stack about that, it's the data problem, right? You have a unified data fabric. And with, we co-innovated with NVIDIA on the X10 case, where we have the high performing data fabric layer that matches up with the NVIDIA data platform reference architecture as well, which we recently launched, and the customers are adopting to that. So from network to compute to the data layer, we got it all, right? And then if you go a little above the stack, we have a control plane. The reason why we need to have a control plane is because AI systems is an extension to the IT, right? And if you're managing an AI workload, you need to look at an enterprise as a holistic workload ecosystem. So some workload is sitting in the cloud, some is sitting in your private cloud, and some is sitting in the AI stack. All of that is orchestrated through a control plane. And that's what we have from Morpheus standpoint. We have the control plane. And then we have, the software stack that sits on it, right? So we have the options of third-party software stack and also our ML operations software stack. So that system with the common control plane now integrates and sits side by side with the AI ecosystem as well as with the IT infrastructure that the customers have already invested. Now, it doesn't stop over there, right? The biggest hurdle to AI is the power, right? Because you need to make sure that, high density rack requires high powering. Now, those are the capabilities that you don't easily get access in the public cloud because of the multi-tenancy nature. Now, coming to HPE, we'll be able to provide you a full stack and provide you even modular if it requires to be modular, sitting on a legacy data center where we can't acquire the power, but we can build the AI infrastructure in a modular fashion. And leveraging the control plane, we can integrate it to an existing infrastructure that the customers have, and providing that seamless interface between their AI investment and between their existing IT investments. One thing that really strikes me in the era right now is, if you look at any new innovation that happens, it's always optimization of the prior investment before that. I look at cloud as a prior investment. So customers will optimize cloud spend with the help of hybrid IT and take that investment and put it in AI. So that's how I see the future going.
I think we've heard some of the various announcements in like places like the Middle East, where you see these giant spends, also throughout Europe, which has very specific and narrow data policies. And I think one of the big opportunities that is still to come for infrastructure and for premises based is going to be this sovereign opportunity. I also like that you reminded everybody about trust. Sometimes I think at the speed in which we're moving, people have sort of just, like we did in the app ecosystem, we just stopped reading the policies. And I think there's a little bit of, at the cost of moving quickly, we've sort of forgotten. And I think when it comes to the risk of enterprise data and how it needs to be managed, protected, utilized, because remember, most of the data from enterprise hasn't touched AI yet. And that's a big opportunity that still exists. We like to think about the fact that the world's internet data, the public data has been used for AI, but the stuff that we own, that high value enterprise data, has still not been used at scale. So we're excited for this road to Discover. But this is also part of the strategy. The strategy is going to be, it's a series of fast-paced announcements. Now, if I'm a customer or an analyst, which I am sometimes, I am fatigued at the pace, the volume, the number of announcements and things being thrown at me day in and day out. I would love for you to tell us all, everyone out there, the people that are going to join us at the event, how are you sort of recommending helping these enterprises to absorb and prioritize and integrate so much coming at them at one time so they can be successful with this important, I think maybe the most important technological shift that most of us will experience in our careers?
Yeah, I would boil it down to three different things that the enterprise needs to look at. They need to start looking at enterprise in terms of optimizing their spend. Because if you don't optimize your spend, you'll not be able to fuel the innovation that's coming in AI. Now, optimizing the spend really starts with very good observability of their workloads on regardless of the placement group. They had some in the colos, some in the data centers, some in the cloud, and it's all over the place, right? So they really need to drive that enterprise observability. Only if you know what is there and how well it's being utilized, you'll be able to optimize. Now, optimization leads to cost saving. Now, cost savings leads to the fueling the next generation of innovation, which is AI. Now, when it comes to AI, there is two set of ecosystems that customers will really need to bring in and think about. One is the data sensitivity to the AI, and how are they trying to build that knowledge base of data, and how are they securing that knowledge base of data. Then the second thing is driving those use cases and adoption that returns an investment to the corporations. It's not for the sake of AI, right? It has to have, and of course, ethical comes as a critical piece. Security and ethicality comes in as a critical piece. The last but not the least is looking at the data center and the investments and trying to figure out what the next 5 years of that modernization is going to look at, from the network stack all the way to the platform stack. Because we are talking about really, cutting edge technology here, and customers have really legacy data centers. So they really need to look at it from all folds, from cost, observability, driving innovation through the platform and building that data fabric layer, followed by making sure that the data centers are capable of handling the next 5 years of innovation. So bringing all this together is all about Discover, right? Aruba, VMware, virtualization, everything is all packaged together. Now, customers, may think like, oh my God, that's actually hundreds and hundreds of our products. But from a strategic standpoint, what we like to see is pace it out, pace out the innovation, engage with us, and we are here to really help our enterprises transform in this new era.
I really appreciate though that you hit on a few of the big challenges as well there. I mean, I like to, I said that, Pat, remember last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, supercomputing, I said flops to tops.
Yeah.
These companies like HPE that have this pedigree, this provenance in high performance computing have made a really powerful transition to AI. The other thing that you brought up, and something that's very much in your DNA at HPE, is network. The network is going to be one of the rate limiters. And of course, there's many ways to attack the power, thermals, challenges. We hear a lot about thermals and liquid cooling. Of course, we hear about total power and capacity as being these big challenges. And I think it's really a combination of all. We need to be as efficient as possible per rack. We also need to figure out how to get the power developed to scale. Then we need to figure out how to develop software that is most efficient. That could be things like, test time compute, doing inference, in real time, things like that, where you can make models more efficient. Another thing though that's coming really fast and furious is the edge. Like this is something that
Yes.
HPE has been
Yes.
buying into in a big
Yes.
way for a long time. It
Yeah.
did this industrially, but we're seeing it sort of. I laughingly say things like XR, IoT. They kind of went out of style, and you're seeing
Yes.
with AI, they're quickly
Yes.
coming back into style. All that data, that sensing, that edge, that
Yeah.
real time
Yeah.
is bringing a new opportunity for the problem that wasn't quite
Yeah.
ready to be solved yet. So talk a little bit about that with edge, AI, the speed. Talk about how HPE is sort of making sure that its cloud to edge strategy is reborn for this AI era.
See, that's a wonderful question, right? Because people have looked at it edge from just a computing standpoint. Give me two nodes, give me one node, give me four nodes. I have an oil and gas ecosystem out there. I need to deploy in my oil fields. Give me a two node rack. So the era of pre edge was all about just computing. But it's no longer that, right? Because the inferences that I drive in my cloud should also be taken to the edge to drive more intelligence at the edge as well. So the architecture that we are building with a higher form factor in the cloud should also be an architecture as you reduce the form factor should also be pushed to the edge, right? So edge to the cloud really not only talks about our networking, our interconnectivity, our switches and the gateways, but it's also about virtualization because the olden era of the virtualization has been standardized on VMware. Now look at the opportunity we have with our VM Essentials and the control plane with Morpheus Enterprise Stack that we have. The same architecture that you deploy it in a data center can now be reduced in a form factor and accelerated on a GPU with the same cloud modules and be pushed to the edge as close to the customer for computing, right? That uniform architecture and network integrated is what edge to the cloud really stands for, right? Because there'll be no customer, take a retail customer, for example. They're not just going to be giving AI experience to their customer after the customer has purchased something. They will give that experience to the customer when they are live in the store, right? So giving that faster processing time and taking the same models and getting it close to the customer, giving them in-store experience is just going to be vast and differentiating for our retail customers as well. So that level of experience is what we want to offer them.
Yeah, nothing is ever new, and the edge is going to get exciting again, and everybody's going to
Yeah,
start talking about it. Yeah,
standard.
Daniel, it's the accordion, right? There's aggregation and disaggregation, and but what just history shows is over a set period of time, compute goes to where the data is created, and as long as you have a management structure to be able to manage and secure everything on the edge, it's the best place to do this because typically it's the fastest response and it's also cheaper typically as opposed to having 14 hops up to your data center or to your public cloud. So it just makes sense. Some of these things are easy to call. I see no reason why the edge isn't going to be this new $1 trillion opportunity out there. So I talked a little bit about the map of where enterprise is on its AI journey, and it's nascent, right? I mean, you have POCs that went on, you have some scaling that's happening here in 2025. There are some who are adopting enterprise SaaS, which is a different
Yeah.
way to consume this as well. But what are you seeing with your customers? What differentiates or distinguishes success from a failure?
Yeah, I mean, there are four varieties of AI use cases that we see. The first variety of AI use cases, large Fortune 50 enterprises actually building a high scale AI platform and then opening it up to their lines of businesses and developers to bring a third party tool or an open source tool where they can bring any models that they want customized for their industry. So we see a huge platform play. The second thing we see is the lines of businesses and the developers supporting the lines of businesses. They don't care about the infrastructure. They want the privacy, the sovereignty, but they don't want to manage the infrastructure. For them, it's all about give me a fully loaded platform. All I wanted to do is deploy the LLM and get the outcomes faster. So that's why we have the private cloud for AI, which is the PCAI stack. Then the third use case that we basically see is a sovereign AI use cases. I mean, if you look at the telco providers, recently they have announced that I will be providing the telco environment for GPU as a service to my customers. So we see that very, very predominant as a sovereignty of the AI coming in. The fourth and the last but not the least is basically R&D, AI for R&D. Because if you look at the complex enterprises, nobody is going to deploy a multi-billion-dollar rollout just like that without investing in R&D. So lots of investment is going in the labs to make sure that they have really hardened the ecosystem, make sure that there is ethical AI that is followed in the labs before it's being deployed out. So if we are able to address all these four use cases with the mindset of return of investment for our customers, and also make sure this physical formula, which is high performance, is low cost. That is what really our platform is all about. We give you the high performance and low cost when it comes to processing a token. In all of the four use cases, either it's edge or it's a cloud. So the better we do this and the better we have an ROI, the better the customer is at is converting the POCs into production. When they're not able to when they're not able to link that, that's when the POCs stay as POCs and they never go to production.
Yeah, make it consumable, outcome driven. That was why I was very positive when we wrote one of the earliest research pieces we wrote on why GreenLake would work and why HPE's pivot would work. And so congratulations on all the progress. We're very excited to join you on the road to Discover. It's always been a great event. Pat, what have we been for at least a decade now to this event? Previous when it was one HP, now HP, HPE, then HPE, then the GreenLake era, but so much progress. We're excited to continue to stay with and watch how the company continues to transcend and transform in the AI era. Let's have you back on again soon. Let's make sure this isn't a one and only, and we will see you in Vegas.
100%. Let's see you guys in Vegas. And I am excited to meet with many of our customers and be a part of their problem solving strategy and drive this adoption. Thank you very much, guys.
Absolutely. And stick with us. Subscribe, be part of the 6.5 community. We will be at HPE Discover. There will be many conversations, interviews, partners, customers, executives, all going to be happening on the ground there. But for this show, this episode, you're going to have to take this sneak preview and you're going to have to wait for the rest. But subscribe, be in our community. Can't wait to see you more. Got to go for now. Bye-bye.